Hi, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Laura Whitmore, and I am the founder of the Women's International Music Network and the She Rocks Awards, which we had here on Thursday night. Britt was honored, among many others, but we'll talk about that. I'm also the Senior Vice President of Marketing for Positive Grid, a company that makes guitar amps and software. We're exhibiting here at the NAMM show in Hall D. And I'm a singer-songwriter, I play guitar, I'm a journalist, and who knows what else, podcaster, all kinds of fun stuff. So we're here today to talk about careers, women in careers, and give you guys some ideas. We'll talk for a bit, and then we'll open it up to some questions. So first, let's start with the panel. We'll have you guys just introduce yourselves and share a bit about what you do, what's your role, maybe a little about your history, especially you, Natalie.
Why especially me?
You have such a great history.
Oh, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Morrison. I am the Senior Segment Marketing Specialist for Education at the Yamaha Corporation of America. My team's here. And I also wear a couple of other hats in the industry. I am the co-host and co-producer of Revoicing the Future Women of NAMM podcast, and I also serve on the NAMM Young Professionals Board of Directors. I've been in the industry now for almost 10 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. But my history began actually interning here at the NAMM show for the PR team. And then I had a number of internships across the industry, including Little Kids Rock, Alfred Music, and my first big job out of college was working as a PR strategist for D'Addario, and now I'm at Yamaha. So there you go.
All right, thank you. Britt.
All right, so my name is Britt, and I started playing guitar when I was about 15 and just wanted to be in a rock and roll band, and had my own bands for a while, and then started auditioning for people and did some pretty big tours, stadium tours and stuff like that I always wanted to do, became a guitar player for hire. And then I moved up to LA and I joined the band Vixen that I play in now. I'm the guitarist in the all-female rock band Vixen that sold a bunch of albums in the late 80s, early 90s, and we're still going strong and writing new material. And I also am a musical director for Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, which is, it began about 25 years ago, but it's we've got a lot of campers here too today, Christine being one of them. And it's about recognizing yourself as a musician, no matter where you are in life, what level you're at, and we give you the opportunity to jam with your musical heroes. And I can talk more about that later. And I've also just had various jobs in the music industry. I've worked at Universal Records and just always hustling and finding new ways to create and make a living in the music business.
All right, thanks, Britt. Go ahead, Christine.
I'm Christine Tawnton, and gosh, I started in the music. I'm a late bloomer in life. I've been playing guitar for many years, but life happens, and I'm playing more guitar later in life. In 2006 is when I first started attending NAMM. I was seeking my music degree at University of Pacific. We have some Pacifics here today, yeah. And I got my degree in music with an emphasis of music management, and I started working for Galley & Kruger, one of the leading bass manufacturers, bass amp manufacturers, and I worked there for about 9 years. And during my time there, I was a product specialist, assisted with artist relations, and then I also was responsible for making arrangements for them to exhibit here at NAMM every year. So by that, I've made a lot of connections, meeting a lot of people, and I started to get involved in some summer camps. The fun one I'll talk about later, the real fun one. But I'm also an instructor, a former director of the Pacific Summer Camp, and it's for high schoolers, and it's a 2-week program, and campers get to actually stay on campus. So I do a little bit of that. I am an active performing musician as well. I have my own band with my husband, Dustin, as the Sweet Taunts, and I also perform currently as I portray Nancy Wilson in a heart tribute band called Heartless.
Nice.
And also super helpful at the She Rocks Awards.
Yes, so that was my final thing. I've been volunteering for She Rocks for about 10 years, and finally kind of made my way up, and I'm the front of house production manager.
And we couldn't do it without her. She's amazing. Well, let's start talking about kind of, you know, the twisted road, the twisty, windy road of careers. And maybe something that surprised you in your career, and looking back, you know, what is your view of how you reacted at the time, and how do you sort of reflect on that? Does anybody want to jump in with that?
It's a really big topic.
If you want, I'll start, because I have a massive thought there, and then you guys can think. So, you know, before we're back, I was working at Korg USA, which is a musical instrument distributor of Korg, Marshall, Vox at the time, and some other brands too. And I was the marketing manager there for 20 years, and I really loved it there. And when it came time to get promoted, I didn't get promoted. And I felt really bad about myself. And I decided to leave the company, and I started my own marketing agency. And it was really, really, really hard to do. And honestly, I never even thought I would ever leave that company. I was so excited there, and felt like the right thing, you know. And then I left the company, and I did start my agency. I moved to California from New York, and it was so hard. I almost gave up. I was like, I can't do this. I can't get enough work. I hate the work I have. It's so technical. And I got one client that I really liked. And then I started to get more and more and more. And I started to work for Guitar World, and I started to write for Guitar World, and then I became an editor at Guitar World. And then I started writing a blog about women playing guitar, and I started talking to a lot of women, and then I launched the Women's International Music Network and the She Rocks Awards because of all those conversations. And I think that all happened because I didn't get the promotion. And I didn't realize that I had put myself in this box, like this idea of myself. I had no idea what I was really capable of. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. And sometimes it's those low lows that get you to the high highs, because you don't know, like you won't make a change, right? Unless you're forced to make a change sometimes. And I also think I'm kind of a crazy person. Like I have a really open door in my mind about saying yes to maybe too many things sometimes, but I get really excited. You know, if there's some project. For a while I was producing a live stream series where we interviewed famous musicians from a venue in New York City, and we live streamed them on really big platforms like Parade and Guitar World and some others. And it was a side gig, but it was amazing. I got to meet Ringo Starr and Tony Bennett, like all these people from doing that. And I learned how to live stream. I didn't know how to do it. I just said, oh, somebody's got to be able to figure this out. Why not me? So I would think just taking the next step and the next step, and not thinking too hard about it. But if it excites you, just allowing yourself to go there. I think that's my takeaway from that. But no, I'm gonna let you guys talk.
I've had a couple of those moments recently, over the past several years. But when I first got out of college, I couldn't get a job, and I questioned my whole life. I wasn't sure if I chose the right path, because I didn't major in music business. I wanted to work in the business side of the industry, and I wanted to have a broader marketing communications degree. So I talk about it a lot, but I thought that not majoring in music business was my downfall, because I just couldn't get my foot in the door. And I had all these internships, and I worked really hard to make those connections and build that foundation in the industry throughout all those internships that I did. But then I came back to the NAMM show, and I realized that the connections that I made actually helped me out in the long run, and that's how I ended up getting my first job. And then COVID hit, I got furloughed. And then I came up with this idea to start this podcast, and I try really hard to believe that things happen for a reason, even though maybe in the moment that it really hard and you think that nothing's actually gonna work out in that moment. But the connections that I've made because I'm interviewing other women in the industry has led me to now work for a company and a team that I admire so much. It's hard for me to put into words. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to grow with the women on my team that inspire me every day. So sometimes those hard moments, I sit back and look back and think, okay, I had to go through this, I had to go up, down, left, right, and now I feel like I'm actually in the place that I need to be, which is really weird to think about in a beautiful way.
Yeah, let's see. I had my own band for many years, and then I just reached a point where it's hard to keep an original band going and make money. And a friend of mine said, if you're not all getting along and everything, you should branch out. You should just start auditioning for other people and become like a guitar player for hire. Then you don't have to worry about booking your band, managing, doing everything. You just plug in and play, and you'll find the love of music again because you won't be stressed out about the other stuff. And he said, Lady Gaga is having an open audition call for her Monster Ball tour in New York next weekend. You should just go. And I didn't really know a ton of her material, and I was like, well, I definitely have nothing to lose. So that was my first audition, and it was a big open call. She was replacing her bass players, drummers, backup singers, dancers, everything. And I got the call back, and then I got the next call back, and I got the next call back, and totally surprised me because I really didn't expect anything to come of it, although that's all I wanted was just to do that and get on a tour. And then I went through a few more rounds, and it was down to me and this one other person. And at the end of the day, they chose the other person. And then I was just devastated. And I just thought to myself, well, I guess I'm not meant to do this. I guess I should just quit because I didn't get my first audition, which is silly. But I was just like, I guess it's not for me. So I was kind of depressed, and actually, my parents have a family business. They had a telecommunications business, and they had always wanted me to take over the business. So I was kind of like, after that moment, gave in and was like, okay, like I'll work for I'm not passionate about telephones, but I'll go for it, I'll do it. And as soon as I just let go of like the tunnel vision of like, I just want to be a rock star, and that's the only thing that's gonna make me happy. As soon as I let go of that and just refocused on something else. Sometimes I think you can focus too much on something, and then you have like blinders on, and you only see one way to get to a destination. There's many ways to get to a destination. So fast forward like maybe 2 months after that audition, I got a call from another musical director that saw me at that audition and said, I've got this artist, Alejandro Sanz. I used to be his MD, and he has a big world tour coming up, and he's replacing his guitar player, and I think you'd be perfect. So then I got that audition, and then I never auditioned really ever again. From that one audition that I didn't get, I got all my other gigs. So that just allowed me to be like, to realize that there's many ways to get to your destination. Sometimes you have to go the scenic route, but also to just be open to other opportunities and other avenues, and not get so discouraged, and don't be so hard on yourself if one little thing doesn't work out, because there's so many reasons that you don't get something. It might just be, your hair was too long, and that matters at that point in time. But it doesn't mean that you suck and that you should give up and completely change your career.
Thank you.
It's true about those twists and turns and never giving up, and trying to reach your destination. I think you should have, there's always somebody that says one goal in mind is to be successful. Well, your level of success is your level of success. A lot of us try and do things in the industry to try and fit in, and I'm going somewhere else with that. But you try and, you're coming out of college. When I first started attending NAMM too, talking about twists and turns, I'm giving out my business cards, I'm doing the network thing, meeting people, not really sure what direction I wanted to go. And I ended up landing in music products for a good portion of the beginning of my music industry career, on the professional side of things. And I've learned so much and met so many people, and then one day, my company started to downsize, and I was the 5th one to be laid off. And I was just like, what do I do? I'm stuck. I'm from Northern California, in Lodi, just below Sacramento. And at that time, I had a family and children to raise. And so I was kind of stuck, and I'm like, what do I do from here? And we didn't have everything we have now. We can work from home now, you know. We didn't have that. Talk about twists and turns from, thank you, pandemic. But thankfully that happened in a way. There's ups and downs too. That now that we can work from home, I do all kinds of stuff. I'm also a realtor. We have a family business, so I'm obligated to, help manage that. And but I do all kinds of things. I have a backline company called Sweet Taunt Music. It's a local level, small venues, small events, but it's something else that has kept me in the industry, and I'm constantly growing and learning logistics, marketing. That's a big thing these days. And then meeting people from there, not just performing, but now I'm learning about sound management. I can actually run sound now. There's so many things that I'm doing, and I feel like I'm kind of scattered all over the place. And then now and helping with She Rocks, talk about being scattered. It's an awesome show, but everything leading up to the show, there's a lot.
I have no idea, it's crazy.
Yeah, there is a lot of pre-production involved.
Only new.
Yeah, and I guess I handle stress very well, so I'm glad to really be a part of it, and so thankful for it. But I'm also a new board member to Women's International Music Network, so talk about twists and turns. You never know where you're going to go, and then here I am performing in this national act, which fitting all that in is pretty incredible. So
Yeah, I think when I hear all you guys talk, one of the takeaways I think about, and it's for me too, is your definition of success changes throughout your life. And I think if you are too rigid about that, you feel a lot of disappointment, because life doesn't go along with the plan in your head most of the time. And when I was 18 and I was getting ready to go to college, I really just wanted to be a rock star. I just wanted to play music and learn music, and I wanted to go to Berkeley. And my parents were accountants. They were like, if you go to music school, we are not paying for that. Really.
I had the same thing.
And I snuck a catalog, this is pre-internet, was mailed to my friend's house from the school, because I didn't want him to see it. And then my mom had gone to visit Hofstra University and saw that they had a music business program. It was one of the first ones in the country. This is before music business was a thing. And she's like, I saw this program, like, what about that? And I was like, all right, I'll do that, but I'm just gonna do it until I can be a rock star. Like, I'll get in the back door, I'll meet the business people, and then I'll get the record deal. Because I did work at a record label for a while. But over time, I found that I'm really good at business, and I really love it, and it actually took the pressure off of my creative side, because I didn't have to be a rock star. I could still make music, I could still enjoy making music, and it made it more fun to make music when I didn't put so much pressure on myself. Anyhow, okay, so let's talk about everybody's moved around so much, but how are you feeling about what's happening today for you? Like, what's the landscape of your work, and what do you find to be the most fulfilling, or, things people should know about the kind of work that you do?
Just going down the line. Is that what we're doing?
Yes. You can pass if you want them.
No, I'll answer. I did the Women of NAMM Leadership Summit in 2022, 2023, I don't know, not this year, not last, no, 2022, I don't know time. 2 years ago. And we did this strengths test as one of the activities to kind of get to know who we are and what we're good at outwardly, but also what we're good at internally as well. And I saw on that test that I had, I was advocacy and mission driven, which I knew, but I needed that reminder. So when this opportunity at Yamaha approached me, thanks to Lisa, I just sat there and I was like, this is exactly what I need in my life. This is me in a job, because I'm really passionate about music education. I advocate for it all the time, and I'm a marketer, and I do PR, and I do all the social media things, but this was a job solely focused on advocating and marketing to educators with one of the biggest companies in the music industry. And then I also have the other stuff that I do with Voicing the Future, and that's advocating for more equitable gender representation across the industry. So right now I just feel like I'm living in this advocacy mission bubble that is just kind of, I'm like floating like a little bit, which is, it's crazy to think about, but I see something that I want and I go after it, and I don't wait for anyone else to tell me that I can or cannot do it. I just know that if it's for me, I'm gonna do it, and I will figure it out.
I think that's a big important takeaway. Like, nobody knows all this stuff. You know, I'm senior vice president of marketing for a company. That's like the highest level marketing executive we have. There's tons of stuff I don't know. I'm constantly researching and looking at what other people outside of our industry are doing, because they're usually more advanced than this industry is. But I can't even tell you how much stuff I've learned in the last 4 years since I took that job, because I don't know. You're like constantly outside of your experience. So don't think you have to know everything. Take the next step. That's my point.
I agree with that. I just say yes to everything and then stress out about it later and figure it out. And I do that at Rock Camp all the time. So I heard about the Rock Camp because I had a lot of mutual friends that I played with, musicians that were posting about it and stuff, and I didn't really get what it was. So one night I just did all the research on the company and on David Fishoff, the CEO, and it just seemed amazing and such a unique way to be involved with music that we normally don't get to be, really just working with people and making a difference in their lives. And so I emailed David, and I started as a counselor at my first Rock Camp, and then we spoke afterwards because I have a degree in music business too. Like Laura, I really wanted to go to Berkeley. I grew up in Massachusetts. And yeah, my dad, I remember he was like, so let me think about this. So did Jimi Hendrix go to Berkeley? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And he was like, did Santana go to Berkeley? And I was like, no, but so-and-so and so-and-so did. He goes, well, if you want our support, because they didn't get the music thing. I think they thought it was a phase I was going to grow out of. I don't know if they still even think it's a real career, but it's working. I never borrow money, so that's all they know. But yeah. And then my dad was like, well, you play in a band with like Jimmy and Johnny, and they graduated from Berkeley and they work at Starbucks, so I don't really get what that did for them. And I was like, you know, you're constantly explaining to your parents how like the music industry and anything in the arts, it's not just like you can get a degree and then boom, you're in this big band and that's it. It's just so much of you know, opportunities when luck meets preparation. But there is no like pure luck. Like you have to be prepared, and I feel like the situations that you get presented with come to you because you're ready for that. You've worked hard, whether you think you have enough or not, and they come to you. But anyways, getting back to Rock Camp. So then David liked that I had a background in music as well as some business background, and I think it's just great to be informed and learn as much as you can. I mean, you can be a musician, but I think it's also awesome to know the business, to learn how to read contracts. You can never know enough. And I know it's funny because I did a lot of interviews, interviewing other rock stars and stuff, especially during COVID for the Rock Camp. And I always like to ask, like, did you have a plan B? And it's really 50-50. A lot of people say, no, I was just gonna be a rock star and I just knew it. And then other people were like, yeah, I worked all these other jobs. And so there's no like wrong or right way. I've had a million jobs. I've been a flight attendant, I've been a bartender, I've done everything. So it's not like, if it doesn't come easy right away, it doesn't mean you're not gonna get there at some point. But again, I keep going away from the rock camp thing. But yes, I do a lot at the rock camp as far as like planning camps and writing offer letters, creating contracts, sending out agreements, reaching out to managers and talent, setting up the daily schedules, coming up with song lists, putting together bands. And I interview every single camper that comes to a camp to get to know them and find out what, you know, their experience level and what they hope to get out of camp. And everybody comes for a different reason, and that's what I'm loving about my career right now, because rock camp has taught me so much, and I'm supposed to be a teacher, and I do teach people, but you guys, campers, have taught me, I think, even more. Learning about how to be flexible and to improvise. That was one thing that always freaked me out. I'm a perfectionist. I never like to just get up and do something unprepared. But then you have these campers, and they're all ages, like I said, in all levels. You have people that play in tribute bands that are really great, and then you have people that, you know, have just gotten a guitar during COVID and have never played outside their living room, and here we are throwing them on stage at the Whiskey A Go-Go with, you know, Joe Perry from Aerosmith. and that inspires me. I'm like, oh my God, if these people can just get up there and do that, like, I definitely can. And so just get rid of all your insecurities and just surround yourself with supportive people, and then you can do anything. And so that's kind of where I'm at in my career now. I think that was the question. and I'm loving that and loving connecting with people and just experiencing the magic of music with them all. And I also have an amazing band of all fierce women. And it's such a supportive band. My bass player, Julia's right there. And playing with those girls just uplifts me to the highest extent. So I feel like I'm in a really good place with all that.
Before we go to Christine, I'm just gonna say, surrounding yourself with people who lift you up is really key, because so many people will put you down. And you gotta have that core group of people who are gonna help elevate you, even like your significant other. Like my guy, he is so awesome, always thinking of new things, new ways to do it, helping me figure it out. And that makes a huge difference. Go ahead, Christine.
Support system is extremely important, so shout out to Dustin, Tawnton, the one and only, and my bass man, so yeah, I couldn't be doing, he also works for She Rocks, just so you know, he's part of the production, he's our talent wrangler manager, plug, okay, so, going back to kind of a confidence thing that you were talking about and uplifting each other, but also saying yes to everything. I'm gonna go back to that. Saying yes to everything is a good thing, but it can also be your downfall sometimes, because you can become completely overwhelmed, and I'm guilty of that. That's happened to me so many times, and then it's just this big disappointment, and then I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to show my face. I just failed. Identifying your strengths is really key, actually. That's another key point. Not only having supportive, but identifying your strength, what you're strong doing. There's no shame in admitting that, you know what, I need to have someone else do that. I'm not sure how to do this. Being willing to learn is equally important. I think we're always learning as we're growing in our career. And just knowing your strengths and weaknesses is really important. That was where I was going. With the camp that I do, the summer camp at University of Pacific, it's a group of high schoolers, and it started because of the pandemic, because they used to have a huge jazz camp there. And so there was some kind of grant that was given, and a lot of these students from the local high schools who couldn't afford to come to the camp, which was like $3,000 for them to be able to stay on campus and do the whole program, those scholarships were awarded to several students, and we ended up having nearly 40 the year before last attend this program, and it was the introduction basically to the music industry. So they come in a classroom setting at first. Everybody shares. We learn people who's a performing musician already, who has some skill set. Where do they want to go in the career? What are they interested in? And we were really surprised with the group of students that we got, because we thought, oh, it's just going to be all hip hop. That's what's going. EDM. That's what everybody's into now. High schoolers, they're just. But that wasn't the case. I mean, there's hope. There's rock and roll. There's country. It's amazing. So I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but they get placed into groups. What we do is we identify what their what they're into, and then we place them into bands, just like we do at Rock Camp or American Idol used to kind of do. And they would actually go into the music lab. There's a recording studio on that campus. There's also a student-run record label, Pac Ave Records. It's run by Josh Smotherman right there. So anyway, going back to the camp, the students actually get to go and have this recording experience. So they write a song. They actually are in the piano practice rooms writing a song. They get to go into the recording studio. They actually get to be the studio musicians if their skill sets up there. If not, we have studio musicians that will play their parts for them. But they actually get to watch the whole mix down. And actually, at the end of the camp, we share those recordings with their family. So they get the music biz 101, copyright, all that. But it's rewarding for me. Going back to me, that's an intrinsic reward. It's watching other campers or watching them develop, and I find them inspiring. That's what inspires me. I don't need to be the front person and be a rock and roll star, even though I kind of am, I guess. But I'm okay with that. I like being part of the team. I like connecting. I like exchanging energy, and it's the best therapy for me. Going on to She Rock Awards, meeting all the people and the volunteers. I'm pretty much responsible for all the volunteers that come in and assigning them to positions, and every one of them has been just such. They're all different, so and just been inspiration. And there's so many people that step up to the plate and show their strength and weakness too. And then we just move them around. But we have a lot of returning volunteers now, and it's just so rewarding to have a solid team. And then just being a part of this organization that recognizes women in all facets of the industry. And honoring women is the most important thing with this show. And showing others that you can do it, you can succeed. And there's all different areas you can go into. So I wanted to mention that we have these catalogs, these programs from the show. So be sure to make sure you come up here and grab one. It has a picture of Britt right on the cover.
I'm gonna ask one more question to the panel, and then we'll take some questions from you guys, so think about if you have any questions. I just want to talk for a minute about networking, because I personally think building your network is one of the most important things you can do in your career, and I didn't know anything about that when I was younger. And actually, my whole time when I was at Korg, I was very insulated because I didn't really deal with other companies or anything. So when I started my own business, I didn't have a big network. Shocking, I know now, but. So I don't know if you guys have any advice for the people here about how to build your network. But we're gonna have Christine start, because she's right
Yes,
now.
please.
Get your business cards out. Don't just send emails. If you're going to send an email, make sure you follow up with a phone call. Meet people in person. If you're here at the show, go to the booth, shake hands. Make sure you remember their name. Use their name like 3 times within the first minute. Oh, well, thank you, Britt. It was great talking to you, Britt. Britt, do you have any children? Are you married? Get to know them personally. That's how you actually, I think, is more key, is getting to know people on a personal level. And know more about them. Don't just, make sure you do your research. If you want a job at a certain company, you make sure you do your research. Know what they do. Know the people there. Get to know someone. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Go ahead, Britt.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just going to say that it's a small world too. Like, you think that this whole music business is so vast, and how am I ever going to? But once you really get into it, it's like somebody knows somebody that knows somebody. You're always like 1 degree apart from somebody, and always just be a good person and be kind, because you never know, even if you don't get along with somebody, and then sure enough, then they're the president of this company that you need to work for. So I think just being a good person is the key to great networking, and just being all inclusive with everyone, and yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Just being friendly and open. And don't be afraid to get personal with people, and like you said, yeah, ask them about their personal lives. And I think you made a great point about do your research if you're trying to introduce yourself to somebody, because that just shows that you actually care and put the effort in. You're not just quickly trying to get something free out of somebody, or just getting something easy.
agree with everything that you both have said, and just to go off what you said, Christine, following up with a personalized email after the fact that you've met them and referencing points of that conversation is going to make them want to respond to you more. That's something that I live by all the time. And then aside from that, I've been really fortunate in my career so far to surround myself with an amazing support system, and people are constantly introducing me to other people. And one of the very first women that I got to work with in the industry was you. You. And Laura and I have had this amazing relationship and bond over the years, and we're constantly supporting each other. And I wouldn't be here without you, and I'm just so grateful for you. So,
Thank you. Getting emotional. I'm just going to add, I've taught whole workshops on networking, and some of the things I think about are when you meet somebody, don't approach it like you want something from them. Like you're trying to build a mutual understanding of each other. Like maybe there's something you can offer them, maybe there's something they can offer you, but don't start from that. I think people feel that energy and it feels weird. And you're like, oh, I need to find you. Let's see if I can get this thing from you. And I just met you. And when I had my agency and I had to get more work a lot, if I met somebody, I would link in with them. And one of the features in LinkedIn that you can use is you can see where people are. And so when I was traveling, I would be like, oh, I gotta go to New York for 3 days. Let me see who's in my LinkedIn network. And I'm gonna invite somebody to lunch that I don't really know that well, but they're in my network and I met them somewhere. And I'll just take them out to lunch. It doesn't have to be expensive. And just sit and talk with them for an hour. And it was awesome. I met so many people and built deeper relationships that way. And I'm all about this karma thing. Like, I just feel like if I can do something for somebody, I don't need something from them. I'm just trying to help people. And that comes back to you in so many ways. It's not even about work or whatever. It just feels good to help people. So that has been my philosophy for many years. And I encourage you to be giving in your relationship building.
You know, you were just, it just kind of went out. You were just talking about on the networking level, persistence. Some people talk about, the anxiousness, I've been wanting to meet you and I need this from you, and we all get nervous, but sometimes it can scare somebody off. And it's a little annoying if you're a little too persistent too, because there's those people, when we talk about follow-up email, follow-up call, don't do too many of them, because that can be a turn-off as well. Be persistent, but in a respectful way, and not too eager, even though we all get excited when we have these opportunities come up to us. So that's what I wanted to add.
One other thing too, actually, I just thought of, I talked to the great Jeff Gordon, manager of Alice Cooper and so much more, and he was giving some advice on this subject, and he said, get above the noise, find a way to get above the noise. There's a lot going on, there's tons of people everywhere trying to get somebody's attention, lots on social media, and you can do, instead of emails, nobody even does real physical mail these days. You can send a letter via FedEx, and then they got to sign for it and open it, then you kind of know if they got it. Or you can send cookies, or do something though that gets their attention, get creative with it too. I think that's one of my
Yeah, that's great. And I think, volunteer. I can't tell you how many things I just volunteered for, and then I got work from that later because people knew me. They knew I would show up and help, and everybody has something to offer, and there's so many opportunities for that, I think. Okay, I'm gonna see if anybody has a question. Okay, Julia, I see back there. Come on. I don't have another mic. Do we have another? Oh, we do. Okay, in the back there. Yeah, you get a mic.
I get nervous on mics. So my question is one that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I feel like it doesn't come up quite enough, and so it's kind of like Like, it's gotten me to start asking the question and talking to people more about it, and every time I talk to people about it, they're like, oh my God, this is a real thing. So I want to know what your take on parenting, like being a creative parent, and like balancing, like I just found when I became a parent, like all the creative energy just like disappeared into my children, and now they're 11 and 13, and I put my music stuff aside, and now I'm like, all right, time to reconnect, but it's just been so long, and I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
I totally relate to that. I have 4 children, 4 boys that I raised, and I put my guitar down. I was a closet player for years, and that really affected my confidence level when I got back into things. I performed at church. I went to college while I was raising my kids. I did everything in life backwards, honestly. And when I said I was a late bloomer, I really am a late bloomer. And I also live by the motto, it's never too late. And it's never too late, it really is. I think you just have to take that first step. My youngest son started singing and performing, and I took him to an open mic, and I said, this is what you need to start doing, let's get you out there. And he goes, Mom, I don't want to do it unless you get up and perform. And that's what it also led me to my divorce.
That's another story for
I've got the best friend, yeah. I traded up.
Just in time.
But getting back in there, it's little steps like that, and meeting people like us. You know, my kids, it's funny because I want to say some rock stars, I hear stories about their kids, they don't see them in the light that we see other rock stars. Kids of rock stars sometimes are like, you know, they're lonely, they're desperate, they're mad, they don't see their mom and dad being cool, you know, so there's that. But just get out there, go to open mics, start performing. You know, meet other musicians, team up with musicians, and getting back into the industry. That also, if you're looking to get into the music side of, are you looking for performing only, or?
Oh, I don't know. I do all of those things still, but it just seems so like as soon as my kids need something, everything disappears and then a week goes by. And so it's just this constant like they're my priority always.
They are,
and I'm
yeah.
trying to figure out how to find more of a balance, you know?
Exactly, as I was saying, you have to find a balance, schedule it. You have to schedule your day. Just like when we play guitar, I'm busy all the time, but I have to schedule my own rehearsal, my personal rehearsal, like Monday, Wednesday, you know, and Friday, I'm playing in the garage, 10 to noon, you know, so you just have to schedule it.
Yeah.
I would add, I was in that position too. When my kids were little, actually when I was pregnant, I was getting my MBA in marketing. When I decided to get a master's degree, I knew I would not be performing anymore. There's no way to be a mom and be a performer and work full time, and so I made that conscious decision to put that aside. And then when I moved out to California, I started writing, and I got the opportunity to take a Berklee online class, which was like coming full circle for me because I got to go to Berklee online. And I took a songwriting class, and I was so inspired by that class that just energized me to, I can't even tell you, I wrote a whole album during that class, that whatever it was, 3-month class. And I learned some new techniques. And then I took another class later from a different organization on how to collaborate, which I had never done before. And that was really the key for me. Once I started writing with other people, I was like, oh, this doesn't have to all be on me. Like, I can toss ideas around. I'm a good brainstormer, you know, and I learned a lot of techniques for collaboration. So I think maybe going outside yourself to kind of re-energize your creativity, and then, you know, putting aside that time. I didn't have a lot of time either, but I did have a little setup in my house so I could record demos, and I still listen to some of those, and I'm so proud of them. I feel that energy, that renewed creativity. So it's still in you. You just have to give it a little space.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, I see somebody. I'm gonna go in the back over here. Right, yeah, you.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm here with my all-women band, Children of Divorce. Thank you. And I personally just feel a lot of frustration at being talked down to and dismissed. And if that's something that you do face, what are some ways that you handle it mentally and emotionally?
This happened to me yesterday, can I tell you that? I was in my booth at Positive Grid and somebody had a question and they didn't want me to be the person to answer it for them. So I just handed them off to somebody else because I didn't want to deal with that energy. I just moved on. But do you guys have some thoughts on that?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I wish I had an answer for that, but sometimes, unfortunately, I just have to take it in the moment, and then I will go and like scream in a pillow, or vent about it to my friends or something. But if the energy that, like Laura said, if the energy is presenting itself that is not good and not great, pass it on to someone else to deal with, because your mental health is really important, and you shouldn't have to put up with the BS that women have to deal with. So that's my advice. I wish I had better advice, but that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but I just try to, I don't let it ever affect me. I just think like, oh wow, that's so unfortunate that that person is so misinformed about the world. And I hope they learn so they can grow and become a better person, but that's not my problem, that's their problem. It's no reflection of, don't take it personally, it's not a reflection on you, it's a reflection on the person who's treating you like that because they don't know any better. So at least we know better.
Well said, what she said. And do it with a smile. She's always got a smile on her face.
And let it fuel you, like, I'll really prove you wrong. Like, when I started playing guitar, I didn't have any music classes in my school. I went to a private Catholic school. It was all academic, and there was an after-school like guitar club, and I walked in, and it was all boys, and they were like, no girls allowed, basically. And I was like, okay, and instead of getting completely discouraged, I was just like, I'm gonna practice so hard. I'm gonna go listen in and hear what songs they're playing, and I'm gonna learn those songs and play them note for note way better than all these guys. Yeah. And I did that, and then they elected me guitar club president 2 years later.
I think too, I was reading about this issue and some advice people were giving about how to deal with it, and somebody said, repeat back to them what they just asked you, so that they realize how ridiculous it sounds. Did you just ask me this? Like, you don't have to do it with an attitude, but you could just be like, did you just ask me? Do I know how to plug my guitar? Are you really serious? And sometimes people are like, oh yeah, I do sound like a jerk. But some people just don't get it, so you're just gonna have to.
But then, yeah, I also say, like, if they think I can't plug my guitar, which totally happens, I'll be like, yeah, and I really can't carry this amp, and I can't carry this guitar. I'm doing this for me, and I really need the water and drink.
Awesome. Okay, do we have another question? In the back, all the way in the back, right there, yes.
Yeah, so my question is actually kind of related to the previous one. So how do you feel about like a collective, because I'm a performer, like I'm a producer, DJ, and also drummer, so a lot of times I need to come up to a collective, organizers, and connect with them, so I can perform. But how do you feel, or have you had experience where like a whole lineup is all male, and then or like the whole collective is male? How do you approach them, and how do you feel about some of the encounters you had?
I mean, you might be able to approach them from a business aspect, because if they open up what they're doing to the other half of the population of the planet, right, it might be, beneficial to the organization to, have more visibility there. But do you guys have some other thoughts on that?
I guess I would just say that that's your strength. You're the only woman, and you're so powerful and prettier and smarter. But all these things, like you're a woman, like that's it. You have so much to offer that men don't. I mean, and just use that. Like I think that puts you in a unique position to really stand out and make a difference.
I would also say when I worked at Korg, I mean, this is like late 80s, a long time ago. I was often the only woman in the room, but I was running the room. And I was fun to work with, and people knew I could get it done. And for a long time, I never really thought about my gender, because I knew I'd just push my way in. And there's been some unfortunate side effects from that, because I overtalk people, which is not good. But I found if I didn't do that, if I didn't just start talking, I would never get the space to talk. So I learned to be really assertive. But yeah, I mean, I love that idea. It's like, hey, you know, I'm gonna bring a new energy to this, and I can bring a lot more people to what you're doing. Like, let's make it happen, you know? Yeah, let's bring the mic all the way to the front here. In that lovely, sparkly outfit. He's coming.
So I'm an artist, singer-songwriter. I would love to know you guys' thoughts about Spotify. The whole, last year they paid us 0.004 cents a stream, I believe, and I heard this year most of the artists are not gonna even get that. I'm wondering, I mean, I'm able to still sell physical CDs, but only when I play at like wineries and things where there's older people who still have CD players and things like that. But I also can do rap with some of my music, so when I play younger audiences, I'm the only one who shows up with an instrument. Everybody else has little flash drives and then they rap, but nobody would buy a CD. So like, I'm liked, and maybe I can get a tip jar, but I mean, are we not supposed to get money for this?
It's so unfortunate, and I think that's why ticket prices are so high, because artists aren't making money selling their music. I know that merch is a big thing, and if it's not CDs, like selling t-shirts and things like that, any kind of just other branding that you can sell that's relevant that people would want to buy. And I think, yeah, it's a terrible situation right now, but yeah, most bands are making money playing shows and just selling merchandise and connecting with fans. There's like a lot of things. I think people like to pay for experiences more so than things now. That's why like things like Cameo and video chats and things are so popular. They want to get to know you, and you can try to, like, I think, monetize that, but use your music as a vehicle to connect and meet all these people, and then find other ways to sell products and things.
Like spend an hour talking to me on Facebook or something?
Yeah, or just, you know, yeah, I wouldn't spend an hour, but
10 minutes.
Yeah, but just thinking of like just creative other ways. But I think you have to make the music because it's in your soul, and you have to put it out there and use it as a vehicle, and find other ways to monetize yourself.
I think we probably have to wrap it up. Do we have time for one more question? Okay, one more question.
Of all the platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, all the platforms you can post your original music on, can you guys comment on which one's the best to maybe make a 0.004% off your tunes?
There's Apple Music too. They're doing pretty good.
I was gonna say, like, if you can have a choice on like your own website or your own platforms and where to push people to, don't push them to Spotify. Like, go to one that pays you more. Put that at the top of your link list.
Right.
There's so much pressure out there about all the different platforms and who's paying who and what. But I love it. Put on your own platform, I think, is selling your own products, being your own, if you're doing it yourself musician, is the best way you're going to monetize.
And also making a video to go with it, because sometimes you can make a good amount of money on YouTube from subscribers and views. So if you can come up with like a creative visual or some kind of content like that to go with it, I think, you know, that could be lucrative for sure too.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks for coming. Thank you.